Does coming here, eating some of your Time Traveler's Bakery bread, does that help me?
Well, of course it does. So if you actually eat fermented breads instead of the normal yeasted breads that are at the grocery store, it actually makes it so that you don't retain as much weight. Not because the carbohydrates are pre-digested for you. It makes it so your blood sugar doesn't spike, and so your insulin doesn't release, and you don't retain a lot of weight. So it actually does help your looks, not just your overall health.
So sometimes the new age stuff isn't always as good for you as the old age stuff.
Exactly, which is why we say back in time, back in healthier. And so earlier we went over a timeline of how bread was made with fermentation all through Egyptian times, the biblical times, and pioneer times. But then things started to change. During World War II, a lot of things started to change to where bread was no longer as healthy on people's guts. So during World War II, that is when we invented the yeast that we use today. It's called Fleischmann's Rapid Rise Instant
I do know
yeast.
that,
Everybody has heard of that.
Everybody's heard of it,
You can make bread now in like 2 or 3 hours. The bread that was made all through time took you like 2 days to make because that fermentation process takes so long, but it also eats through all that gluten and carbs. So during war times, not only did we invent yeast so people didn't use fermentation, we started to change our wheat and how it was made.
So yeast was a thing to help you speed up.
Yeah, yeast was invented so that we could rise bread faster.
Speed isn't always good. Sometimes speed isn't always good.
Yes.
Okay.
And we made it so that you could make bread faster so the soldiers could have bread. And so it could be for the war effort. Now, when in this time, again, we started to change our wheat as well because we wanted our wheat to be extremely shelf stable. To like also be resistant to pests and to like have a greater yield. In other words, it would make more food for the effort that the farmer would give. Because we were seeing all these countries during World War II that like they were gridlocked and couldn't get the food they needed. So we were changing how we made wheat.
So it was good at the time. At the time it was good. It helped a lot of people.
There was totally a reason for it. But then all of these crazy changes in crossbreeding we did with our wheat started to affect it and change it. So that by the time the 1990s came, we had more than just a problem with a crazy crossbreed of Furbies and other things. We had a crazy crossbreed of wheat on our hands. And by this time, all of these people started having gut issues. You don't really hear people having gluten issues before the 1990s. And that's because by then, we had started using yeast, so we didn't have any fermentation to break down the gluten for us. But we had crazy wheat, too. We had a Furby wheat.
You learn stuff, you're going to get some good nutrition. Give me your website so we can check out all the information.
TimeTravelersBakery.com.